Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. After we run you through the news you need to know about, we run you through the fan Q&A where we answer fans' questions. We have actually a pretty good amount of news to talk about today, which is good. And I cannot wait to get into the game, obviously. That was you cannot ask for a better game as a Dolphins fan. Not only did we get to see Tua, but we beat the Jets, and they could not move the ball. It was very, very fun to watch. Not to mention the fact that we blew out Joe Flacco, which always, as a Dolphins fan, that feels really good after all these years. So, let's get into the very first news story. And I just want to remind everybody that and this, I don't see a lot of people talking about this, but this is sneaky. Since we get the bye week this week, after the bye week, we get Antonio Callaway back against the Rams. So after the bye week, not only does he get the bye week to prepare for that game, but he could come back against the Rams, which is awesome. So we're going to get another offensive weapon back. Hopefully Antonio Callaway can build off of his rookie year. He never really got to come back to the field, obviously, after his rookie year due to the marijuana issues. Obviously, that's not a problem anymore in the NFL because of the new CBA. So that's really good news. And we haven't really heard. I hopefully some of the media can dig into that to see how well or what the expectation is for him coming back for Week 8, and if he has he's had over a month after the bye. He would have had over a month because he, even in the suspension, he could still be part of some of the team activities and learn the playbook at least. So hopefully he's good to go in terms of that type of stuff, but obviously he can't practice with the team during the bye. But after the bye, he would be able to. So I'm excited to see how that all works out. But he can come back for Week 8 against the Rams, and I believe it would be Week 8 after this because Week 7 and Week 8. So it's actually kind of a convenient bye week. We could be getting a very good, talented receiver after the bye and really get him ready for the Rams, which is really really good. Not to mention the fact that we should get Kyle Van Noy back and get this team healthy and ready to go for the second half. Really push for the playoffs after the season. The next one is, and obviously this comes from Pro Football Writers. You guys have already heard it already, but I want to bring it up anyway. Devon Godchaux will miss the rest of the season due to injury. Obviously, the Dolphins are gonna look for some more rotational pieces. Not to mention the fact that Raekwon Davis got hurt in that game. We haven't really got an update on that yet. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. Obviously, those guys are going to get more playing time. And, I think they're going to be just fine. There's no reason to really worry about that. But I wanted to talk about something else. We discussed the Antonio Callaway situation and how he will be able to come back Week 8. Very talented player. I think the way the Dolphins could use him, if he comes back and he can build off of his rookie year, or even just give us the production that he had his rookie year, he could be a good slot player for us. He's a really good outside player as well. He can stretch the field deep, which is something that Jakeem Grant really isn't giving us right now. And he can also work the middle of the field. So I think he can give us a lot more as a receiver. And he's a very fast, really good run after the catch player. So he can catch some short stuff and make something out of nothing. So he can do a lot for this offense. But the trade deadline is the 2nd of November. The Dolphins have a 2 week, well, not really 2 weeks, but they have a week off. But they do have almost 2 weeks to kind of just sit around and think of ways to really improve this team. So going into the bye, when you look at the roster and you look at some of the, things that because I don't really think this team has a need necessarily. I don't think really defensively there's anything that I can say that's glaring right now. The pass rush is really good. The linebackers are outstanding. The run defense has been better. That's for sure. Going into Week 8 after the bye. So maybe you add some depth at defensive tackle. The safety position, Eric Rowe has been playing really well all year. When Brandin Jones comes in, he's been great. He's been really good. He could have had a pick 6, which would have been amazing if he could have just came down with that ball. He got the huge tackle for loss in the back line of scrimmage in that game on a 3rd and 2, I think. So he's been really good as a rookie. I'm very excited about his future in the league. So the Dolphins don't need a safety anymore, which is crazy to say, because even if, which he's not right now, Bobby McCain's playing the best football he ever had at safety. It's not even close. He's playing really well at that position. He had his best game against Seattle, then he topped that against the Niners, and then I think he's just kind of kept it up against the Jets. So the safety position does, because like I said, even if Bobby, let's say, he reverts back to his old ways, Brandin Jones needs to get that playing time. He has a very bright future in this league from what we've seen from him so far. So they don't need anything on defense. Their corners are good, obviously. X is dominant. Byron Jones has been really good for us. Nick Needham, I think, has been a pretty solid slot corner. He hasn't really, ever since he got major playing time this year, hasn't really given anything up, especially not any big plays. So when you look at the roster, offensively, the offensive line has good depth on it. We got good young tackles, plus they need the playing time. There's nothing, the interior of the offensive line is good. The running backs, I think if you could somehow get one, which I don't think there is. I mean, I can't really think of anybody who's on a bad team that would be someone, one of those bad teams would want to move, because, I just can't. I mean, like Ezekiel, a lot of these running backs are going to be on their teams for a long time, or are on good teams, or have bad contracts. So, other than the Le'Veon Bell situation, which the Dolphins missed out on, I don't see anything there. And the running backs that they have right now, I mean, Myles Gaskin has been really nice for them. So yeah, the only thing I could have seen them, I mean, the Le'Veon Bell situation was the only situation I could have seen where they could have added another piece there. Really, the tight end position, I don't really see, I think Adam Shaheen's really coming on, which is nice. He kind of reminds me of Scott Chandler, which was a long time Bills tight end. He reminds me a lot of him. So I like his development going forward. Obviously, Mike Gesicki's great. I don't think the Dolphins need to spend a late round draft pick to get a David Njoku or someone like that. I don't think that's worth it. I think they could add another receiver. And the reason I'm bringing this trade deadline stuff up is I think the Dolphins could make a trade for, I don't know who, I don't know what they would do, but I think out of all the positions on the team, I think the receiver position could use another piece. Just to add to, because I think Preston and Devontae are good. We just need more production in the middle of the field, I feel like. It would be nice to get a really good slot receiver, or someone who could be a more consistent deep threat than Jakeem. Jakeem can stretch the field, but he's not a good receiver. And I feel like, and hopefully Antonio Callaway, which is still a question mark, but he is really talented. Hopefully he gives that to us. But really, I just have this feeling that the Dolphins will do something during the trade block, or before the trade deadline, which is the 2nd November, which would be a day after the Rams game. I just have this feeling. So I wanted to break down, and really the receiver position, and there's a lot of possibilities here, because a lot of these guys are rumored, or have been rumored, to be on the trade block. So I wanted to run through these guys really quick, because I thought it'd be interesting to talk about. So the first one I want to talk about is Julio Jones. And all of these guys have been rumored to be traded. The first one I want to talk about Julio is because I really don't think this is not only never going to happen, but he's the only one out of this list, these 3 guys that I have, that I think would cost a first-round pick. That's why I wouldn't trade for him. I would obviously want to keep those 2 first-round picks, especially with the Texans pick, because that is a very high pick, and obviously a very premium pick. So there's no way I would ever trade that pick. So I think the Julio Jones thing, he's the best player on this list by far. He's still a top 3 receiver in this league. But he just would cost too much with the draft capital and all that other stuff. The Falcons definitely need to start over, and they would be looking for a first round pick, and they can definitely get one, but from a different team. I don't think the receiver need is that great to give up a first round pick. That's for sure. So I just think you got to cross out Julio Jones. All right, so next up on my list is AJ Green. Obviously, AJ Green is heavily rumored to be traded very soon. I don't think he'll be a Bengal next year, that's for sure. The only problem, I don't think you would have to give up a high round pick. I think the highest you would have to give up for AJ Green is a second round pick, in my opinion. So I could see it. I think I would be a kind of 50-50 on this. I would have to think about it longer. The thing about AJ Green is he's very similar to Devontae Parker and Preston Williams. He's probably I don't know how I would describe this. I don't think he's a better deep threat than Devontae Parker, because Devontae's 50-50 thing is out of this world. He's one of the best football players in the league at that. So I don't think he's necessarily a better deep threat. He's definitely faster coming in and out of his breaks. I think he could play the slot position similar to what Larry Fitzgerald did when he went inside. I think AJ Green could do that. He's a very good route runner. So I think he could give us that in the middle of the field. So I think he could affect the team. I know he's very similar to those two, but I do think you could put him in the slot. He's a good athlete, obviously. I think he's a lot faster than people give him credit for. So I think he could really give us a nice presence in the middle of the field. I would give up, if he was willing to move inside, I would definitely explore that for sure. I think he would be worth a second round pick if that is what ended up happening. I think if that's the way you utilize him, that could be potentially very special for the Dolphins for, as long as AJ Green is willing to play, because he could really open up the middle of the field for this team and really give us a good, I would say, a good third down threat and just another very, very obviously productive weapon in the team. I don't think he necessarily helps us with stretching the field, but I don't necessarily think that's what this team needs, because you can't leave our receivers on the outside one-on-one unless you have a really good corner. And Jakeem Grant can take the top off the defense, so we can still go deep down the field. It's not necessarily going to be for a 60-yard post walk-in for the touchdown, but we can still attack your DBs down the field. You can't really load the box, because if you leave our receivers one-on-one, we can still take advantage of it. Not necessarily, like I said, for an 80-yard touchdown, but it could be a 60, 40, 50-yard completion, because our receivers is just going to, Preston and Devontae both can just moss your guys. We've seen that already this season. So I think what this team really does need is someone who can work the middle of the field, and I think AJ Green could do that for sure. The next one I think is the most probable and the best move for this team. This would be someone that they wouldn't have to give up a lot for. The contract's not that bad. They could definitely get away with the 4th or 5th, and it would be worth it. And that's Brandin Cooks, who has also been rumored to be on the trade block. Now, Brandin Cooks can do all of the things we just discussed AJ Green to do, and he can stretch the field with his speed. He's got good hands as well. He's a great route runner. He can definitely play the slot position. He could give us another weapon on third down, and he brings something different to the table. Like I said, he can stretch the field. He would be definitely, I think, the best route runner on the team in terms of getting out of his breaks quickly. That's something that this team really doesn't have. Preston Williams is probably the best at it on the team, but everybody else really isn't that shifty guy that can, do some of those things. And even Isaiah Ford, to a certain extent, even though he's been missed on a lot of plays where he's been open, he has a great feel for the game, but I don't think he's, necessarily the best coming in and out of his breaks in terms of some of the better slot receivers in the game. I think Brandin Cooks could do that at a very high level and give you that kind of Cole Beasley, Julian Edelman, Jay Crowder type of a presence in the middle of the field, and which would be much needed, not to mention the fact that he could stretch the field with his speed and give us a deep threat that's actually a really, really good receiver who has really good hands and can play the position at a high level, unlike Jakeem Grant, who really just can't do that. So I think he gives us a different type of receiver. And I think to describe him, like I said, I think he definitely could play inside a lot. I think he's a way better version of John Brown, in my opinion. I think, this is a guy who's had 1,000 yards receiving and a lot of touchdowns each year he's played in the NFL. I think he's I think to describe his game is how I would describe it. So I think Brandin Cooks, not only would you have to give up nothing for him, but he would give your team something that you don't already have. So I think this offense is still good if they don't make any trades. I think this offense is fine. It doesn't necessarily need anything that bad. Plus, we don't know what Antonio Callaway is going to give us. So this trade might not even, we might not even be talking about this, but we don't know what he's going to give us. He hasn't played football in a year. after his rookie season. He's a very talented player, but it's more of like a wait and see thing. All three of these guys are proven, and I would say the most likely one, and I think the best one for the Dolphins would be Brandin Cooks, because like I said, you wouldn't have to give up a lot for him. He helps you out a lot. Gives you something you don't already have, and you get him for cheap. So I just wanted to bring that up because I do think the Dolphins will be active in terms of trades, and I don't know what they will end up ultimately doing. I think it will definitely be a skill position, but we'll have to see what ends up happening. But I would definitely look out for that. I mean, you guys can leave and obviously Will Fuller and pretty much their entire receiver core is on the trade block. So, I mean, if the Dolphins would want to go with the Will Fuller out, but the only thing Will Fuller could do is really get down the field. I think Brandin Cooks could give us that slot presence as well. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Who you would want for trade, any of that stuff. I think if the Dolphins ended up getting Le'Veon Bell, he could have really helped open the middle of the field up a little bit more. And he's really, like I said, they just don't have that guy who's quick and coming in out of their breaks, who can beat man coverage fast in the middle of the field, because their best route runners on the outside 99% of the time. So I think it would be nice to have that for sure, and someone that Fitz. Oh, this is the last point I will make. Fitz really has problems getting off of 1 to 2. He really doesn't go to 3, because he has missed Isaiah Ford so many times. I can think of two times that he missed people just in the Jets game, where if he just gets off 1 to 2 and then looks in the middle of the field. He had Myles Gaskin wide open on 1 3rd down. He had Isaiah Ford was wide open a few times this year, and he was wide open and would have had like a 30-yard gain because there was nobody in front of him in the Jets game. He completely missed him. I think that was on a 3rd down as well. He ends up throwing to like Mike Gesicki and Devontae Parker were like in the same spot. He had Chandler Cox wide open in the flat for a walk-in touchdown that he didn't see. I don't know why Fitz sometimes I question what his ability to get off of like the first 2 guys. Like it's very odd. Because some other times he does see the field pretty well, but to give him someone else that he trusts and can look for, I think would help out this offense and him out a lot. So I think that is something that it would also help, just to get off those 2 guys, because I don't understand sometimes. I'm like, Fitz, you have somebody open, you just get off those first 2 guys. So, and that's come up a lot this year. So we'll see. So let's get into the game. I'm super excited to I mean, listen. First of all, let me set the stage for you guys. Let me set the stage before we even get into this game. There's so many reasons I wanted to win this game. Not to mention the fact that obviously we're all hardcore Dolphins fans. If you're listening to this, we obviously want to beat the Jets every single year, and we want to win every game every single week. So obviously, that's a huge reason. But not only did we beat them 24-0, they also had Joe Flacco, who was the starting quarterback at the time, who we absolutely decimated. Okay? They also had Adam Gase on the other side. So not only did we beat the Jets 24-0, but we also beat Joe Flacco 24-0, and we also beat Adam Gase 24-0, which is awesome. All right? It is awesome. It is absolutely amazing, dude. And it was at home, and it was at Hard Rock Stadium. And it was a revenge game for the bullcrap that happened last year, the last time we played them in MetLife, where we obviously should have won the game, but the refs bailed them out at the end. All of those emotions and the anger after all of these years, and last year's game, and Joe Flacco, and Adam Gase, everything that went down there, all of that went into that game, and it felt so good for all of those reasons, it felt so good to just beat them down, okay? It felt so good, dude. For all of those reasons, I'm sure it felt good for you guys for those reasons too. Also, I want to bring something up. Didn't we beat Joe Flacco? And I think I want to say it was 2007, or maybe that was the year before he was drafted. But they brought up a stat that we've never beat Joe Flacco, and I can believe that because the last time we beat the Ravens is when he was hurt and Matt Shaw played. So I don't remember. I could be wrong, but I think we have beat him before. But it doesn't matter because we slapped him upside the head in this game too. So I don't really care. So let's get into this game. Obviously, the Dolphins win 24-0. I don't know I couldn't find individual stats for this game. For some reason, like the box score stuff is broken, because this happened last week. There was no box score for this. You only had the score. I have no idea what's going on with that. They need to fix that. But we'll start with the defense. The defense is dominant, or has been the last 2 weeks. It's been very good. I love the scheme. We did this without Kyle Van Noy, by the way. Our linebackers are very underrated. The amount, like every single one of them are starters in the NFL. Like Grugier Hill, what he gives us and what he does for us. Sam McGuavin coming off the bench looked awesome. I know this was against the Jets, but I think they've looked good all year, in my opinion. Kyle Van Noy, Jerome Baker, Landon Roberts, we got a lot of flack initially when we let go of Raekwon McMillan, but you can see why, because we have so many of them. And it's hard to get them all, playing time. And like I said, every single one of them I think could start for a team and be very good for them, or good, at least, at the very least, just a serviceable starter. So I definitely want to bring them up, because I think they're a super underrated group on this team. They're really good. They allow us to do a lot of stuff with those blitz packages, because Grugier Hill and Jerome Baker especially, they're very athletic, very fast, really good in coverage, and we can make up a lot of ground. Like anytime they try to screen it or swing it out to the running back when we brought a lot of pressure, they have the ability to come across, even if they're, let's say they're covering, let's say they're in like a robber position and they're covering like a drag or a shallow cross or something over the middle. They have the ability to recognize that the back is the hot read, see it, get there immediately, and make the tackle. And that happened a couple times in this game. And they did that against the 49ers as well. Even though sometimes the Niners got us on a couple of those, mainly with receivers. But I think our linebackers allow us to a lot of creative stuff defensively. And it's because they're such a deep group and very athletic. I mean, every single one of them, I think, could cover a tight end. Maybe not Landon Roberts, but he's a good athlete too. He's a very, very good athlete. He's really good against the run too. Very physical, brings a very good physical presence to this team. So this is the best linebacker group we've had in a long time, like a very long time. It's very deep, very versatile, and I think it's a very underrated group on this team. So I wanted to bring them up. The defensive line and Shaq Lawson. I want to before we get into Emmanuel Ogbah, because obviously he was amazing. Shaq Lawson, I think, is getting kind of, and Brian Flores said this during his post-game press conference, or it was the day after his post-game press conference, where he was like, sacks are a big deal, but they're always not the biggest deal. And you hear like people like Omar Kelly complaining about setting the edge a lot. The last 3 weeks, I would say, even against Seattle, Shaq Lawson has done a really good. He didn't play against the Niners, but he's done it since I would say of recently. Shaq Lawson has done a very good job of playing within the scheme and doing what Brian Flores asks. He's not really, and you kind of saw this a little bit earlier on, where he was just kind of playing, but I feel like right now, especially this defense, they're all playing within the scheme, and you hear this in New England, and you know what I'm about to say, they're doing their job, and I think it's benefiting this team a lot, where you don't have this guy like, what Rashad Jones used to do, or Lawrence Timmons when he was here, where they would just do stuff all the time, and that's kind of what the defense was doing before Brian got here, where there's a lot of guys just doing stuff. That Shaq Lawson is, and he's really using, and because he's playing within this game, his physical ability really pops. And I thought he had probably his best game as a Dolphin in this game. He had a really underrated game in this game, where he was setting the edge in the run game. He was in the backfield a lot. He was collapsing the pocket a good amount. So I just wanted to give Shaq Lawson a shout. And again, I guess against the Jets. But the Jets spent a lot of money. I know they didn't have Mekhi Becton out there, but the Jets spent a lot of money on their offensive line. They have some good veteran players up front, and we killed them. I mean, we pushed them back. We did all that stuff. And Emmanuel Ogbah, I'm not quite sure. I think he has, I want to say 5 or 6 sacks on the year. I could be wrong. I'm going to look this up. But Emmanuel Ogbah has been amazing for this team. Just absolutely amazing for this team. And, now, and I don't know how much else I can say about Emmanuel Ogbah other than the fact that he's been, great. And you can really see, one thing I want to bring up with the defensive ends before we move on, and the defensive line in general, the Dolphins, this is the first time and especially under Brian Flores, that our defense is physical. They're big and they're fast, dude. This is the biggest, fastest defensive line we've had in Miami in a long time. And wait, there's no way he's only had 2 sacks on the year. That doesn't make any sense. I guess I feel like he's had more than that. But according to Google, he has 2. But it feels like a lot more than that. Anyway, yeah, Emmanuel Ogbah's been great. He had 2 sacks against the Jets, though. I'm sorry, guys. I'm very confused on this. He has to have 4 or 5. Yeah, I think he has 4 or 5 sacks, which is good. And he's been better than that. Better even. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah, this defensive line. And this is something we talked about when we signed him. But they're really big, physical, good against the run defensive ends. And usually, and especially the last few years, we've had smaller, really more outside linebacker, one-dimensional defensive ends. Like you think about Robert Quinn. Even Cameron Wake was never really that great of a run defender. Robert Quinn, Olivier Vernon, Derek Shelby. I'm trying to think of who else. Like these are all like smaller 4-3 guys that were never really good two-way players. And I think Ogbah and Shaq Lawson, now that they've really kind of settled into the scheme, have been really, really good in the scheme and are bigger, better two-way players than we've had in a while. I'm not saying they're better than Cameron. They're obviously not better than Cameron Wake. Cameron Wake was an elite pass rusher, but he wasn't. I don't think he was a great two-way player, and I think these two are the best two-way players we've had in a long time. So, yeah. What else do we? There's something else I wanted to bring up about the defense. Byron Jones has really changed the play calling. We've really been able to, and you saw that with the Jaguars game, and even the Bills game to a certain extent. We weren't as aggressive because of the Igbenogany situation. And ever since Byron Jones got back, I mean, we've been, every play it seems like we're stacking the line of scrimmage, where we can really get into that amoeba defense stuff, where you really don't know who's coming, who's going, who's dropping back, and it killed. The Jets were not prepared for it, and they didn't know what to do with it, and we confused Joe Flacco a lot. I love this scheme so much. Like I think it's a very smart scheme. It confuses the quarterback. It puts a lot of pressure on the quarterback and the offensive line, and it leads to us being one of the best, and I think we're the best third down defense in the NFL, and that all comes from obviously what the Patriots have done and Bill Belichick and how we're building the team is just like that. We're building the secondary to the defensive line, and it's really working, especially these last 2 weeks, where it's been very good and dominant. And I think, like I said, I think Byron Jones, who might have been able to steal us a win against Seattle or Buffalo or even New England, if he was I think he only played like a drive against New England. He's really been able, to. I don't know why I can't speak right now. He's really allowed us to open up the playbook, and you can tell. I mean, it's been very different how the games have been called before and after. And after, now that we have Byron Jones relatively healthy, and obviously Xavier Howard is the healthiest he's been in a long time, you can tell. It's really opened up the playbook defensively and allowed us to do what we want to do, and we've just been killing it on defense since then. I mean, ever since Byron Jones got back, the defense has looked dominant, and it's definitely not a coincidence. And shout out to Bobby McCain, who's playing the best football at safety of his career. Whew, man, I can barely breathe. So there's so much to talk about, so much to get to. I think we covered it defensively. I brought Brandin Jones up before. He's been really good. Every time he comes in, he makes a play, which is awesome. So I'm very excited about his future. He fits the team. Again, they drafted a lot of people that fit this scheme, and they're just killing it in the scheme because they fit the scheme. They can really thrive in the scheme because what they're being asked to do, they're most comfortable in doing. And that's the best thing that they do. And you can see, and it just works. And Brandin Jones is one of those players. He just fits the scheme. Everything that he's asked to do in the defense is a strength of his. So, and it pops, and he's a good player. So I'm very excited for his future. So I think we covered everything defensively. I mean, schematically, they didn't know what to do with it. The Jets didn't. Physically, we were better. Everything. We were just better. Xavier Howard, I don't know why Adam Gase decided that he wanted to pick on X. It did not work. He threw a Byron Jones a couple times. It did not work, especially early on in the game. I think Byron gave up I think I can think of one catch. It was on a 4th down It was the last drive before Tua came in the game, and I think he might have given up another one to Brashad Perryman, but he only gave up 2 catches. They threw him in early, didn't work. So yeah, I mean, those two are dominant. I mean, if Byron Jones, because I don't think he's 100% healthy yet, this bye week, hopefully after the bye he comes back 100%. I don't think he's 100%. Just watching him, and seeing some of the stuff that he did as a Cowboy, I don't think he's there yet. But if he can get there after the bye week, I mean, good lord, the defense is already humming, and he's not lumbering or anything like that. I just don't think he's 100% yet, and X is 100%, and he's just dominating. And if Byron Jones can get to 100%, I mean, the sky is the limit. And if Nick Needham could just be serviceable at that position, because I think Bobby McCain's playing good football right now, and if Bobby can continue what he's doing, then defensively the sky is the limit. And we're already, I think, number 1 in third down defense, which is the most important stat in the NFL. So, or defensively at least. And offensively, I mean, if you're number 1 on offense on third down, that's very important. So, yeah, we're killing it on defense. There's not much else to say. I think we talked about everybody who's playing really well. Zach Sealer, I mean, we can't say enough about him. He's really good. Christian Wilkins had a good game. Everybody had a good game on defense. Nobody had a bad game on defense. Everybody had a good game. The only thing that could have stood in our way from beating them down defensively was the refs, and they didn't really do that all year or all game, which was awesome. All right, let's get into the offensive side of the football. This is where we can get into some negative points that I don't want to really harp on because we're riding high as Dolphins fans right now. I don't want to be but I think it's important to point out. I don't know if we want to start. Let's start with the negative. That's what's on my mind right now. So let's get into the offensive side of the football. The inconsistencies and execution was a very big reason that we didn't put 40 on this team. Not to mention the fact that we missed a few receivers. Like if Chandler Cox was seen, he would have walked into the end zone. There was another play where Preston Williams was wide open that Fitz didn't see him. In defense of Fitz, he ends up completing like a 20-yard game, 15-yard game to Devontae Parker. So it wasn't like the biggest deal. But I feel like he just needs to read the field better. And we already talked about this earlier in the show, so I don't know if it's a trust thing. I'm not really sure what it is. I just have noticed it a few times this year. And you know what? You're not going to make every read. You're not going to make every throw. That's, you're going to miss a read. You're going to miss a throw every game. It is what it is. So maybe I'm just being a little bit too overly critical of that. But as a veteran quarterback, I would just like to see some of those open players be hit more often. But I think, and this is not a thing about this unit all year, that this has been an issue. But the execution in this game was, after we got a 21-point lead, and even when we got the 14-point lead, like some of those short yardage situations, dude, like the one I can't, we pulled, listen, anytime first of all, I'm getting ahead of myself because there's 2 issues here that I want to hit on. That this offense, one of them they've struggled all year with, and the other one they struggled, and it's just the execution part. But the execution, especially in these short yardage situations in this game, not necessarily all year, but especially in this game, were very bad. Like if Chandler Cox doesn't fall down, we kind of ran a trap play. It was 3rd and 1. We had great field position. All we had to do was get a yard. And we got good push up front. It wasn't penetration from the middle of the defense. It was on the outside of the defense because we just didn't execute our blocks. And I thought execution in some of these short yardage situations, especially in this game, were lazy. And you can tell it was not great if you just watch the game. It had nothing to do with physical ability. Sometimes people trip, just miss their block, weren't in the right spot. It was very bad this game. I just don't think we had our head in the game for some of those. I think, it's 3rd and 1, let's just hand the ball off and get it done. And we just didn't. We kind of fell asleep at the wheel on a couple of those. And the other thing I want to hit on, and this is something that this team has not been good at all year, is pulling people. Anytime we pull anybody on this team, and we do it quite a bit, and sometimes it does work, but I feel like we have to do a better job of executing it, because every single time we pull someone on a counter or anything, something bad happens most of the time, which we just need to execute that better. If you look at all of the failed runs in this game and all year, really, they've been when someone is being pulled, whether it's a guard, a tackle, it doesn't matter. They just either let someone get inside of them, someone misses their block, and it's a huge loss in the backfield. So we have to do a better job of that, or just take it out of the playbook, because if we on a lot of these 3rd and shorts, especially in this game, if we just said, hey, offensive line, all we're doing is you're pushing and we're handing the ball off, we would have gotten every single one of those third downs. But we didn't. We just didn't execute some of those plays. It has nothing to do with Chan Gailey either. It just is. It was really, like I said, it was just bad execution. They have to execute those plays better. So that's really only the negative things I have to really say about it. It was, and the other thing is we have to. This was only in this game, but we had to do a better job of. And again, we won 24-0. So a lot of this is just. I don't want to say nitpicky, but. You would have liked us to take advantage of some of the short fields better. Not to get the turnover there, before halftime would have been nice too. But really, the flow of the game offensively, I just never felt like we consistently were in a groove like we were in San Francisco. I don't think we hit that bar. Unfortunately, we were kind of up and down all game offensively, which kind of reminded me, not necessarily against the Jags. I guess that's the best one, but that was like a effort to do that. Like, we kind of took our foot off the pedal. In this game, we didn't do that. And against the 49ers, we didn't do that either. So, I don't know. It was a very, like, up and down day offensively. And I think a lot of it had to do with laziness and on some of those plays and just kind of falling asleep at the wheel. And hopefully next time we play them, we'll be better offensively. Because the outside, last year... we did a really good job of picking on their outside corners. In this game, I thought the focus was in the middle of the field. I think pretty much all of our big plays were in the middle of the field. The tight ends were a big focus of this game, and we did a really good job of executing that. But next time we play them, I think, and I hope we do a better job of getting more one-on-ones. The one time we did try one, it was underthrown. It was obviously picked off with a crazy interception by Marcus May. But I hope that's a bigger part of the game plan next time around. And really working some of those corners on the outside, because last time we played them, especially at home, we were able to dominate those matchups. So I don't know. I just think offensively it was okay. It wasn't. I don't think it was good or great. I think it was okay. It was a little inconsistent, and it was because of all of the yards they left on the field and all of the points they left on the field. They just left off They just let out. It was just a little too much because we got so many short fields because of our defense. You just would have liked us to have done a better job. Especially on third down, we weren't very good. And a lot of it was Fitz, and it was, I think I guess we'll say, I think it was a mixture of both. I think it was some of it was execution, some of it was Fitz. Just missing some throws and some, making some not so great reads. Offensively, other than that, I think Preston Williams. I think the highlight of this game is Chan Gailey. And the other highlight is the tight ends. I think they've been very good all year, and they're really coming along. Adam Shaheen really playing that kind of Scott Chandler role in this offense. He was a really good tight end that Chan Gailey had in Buffalo for a long time. I'm sure old school Dolphins fans remember him very well because he used to kill us. So, yeah, I think he reminds me a lot of Scott Chandler. And we kind of ran that old Scott Chandler play that the Bills hit on us a couple of times, where it was kind of a post with a tight end in the middle of the field, and he ran that really well and almost scored on it. So I think the highlight of this game is Chan Gailey, the tight ends, and really the offensive line, and they're doing a really good job with some of the injuries that we sustained of just kind of keeping it going. And obviously Myles Gaskin has been great as well. Devontae Parker, and Preston Williams. You would have liked to have seen them be involved a little bit more. And I don't really think they were a big part of the game plan. I think the tight ends were, and they were really involved in the passing game. And I thought we did a good job of that. But next time around, I hope we involve them a little bit more into the game plan. Because I don't think it was the Jets playing good defense. I really do believe that we just didn't really attack outside the numbers that much in this game. But I love Chan Gailey's offense. I mean, it's been really good all year. I like the way and some of the creative things that we've been doing offensively. And he's done a good job of putting our players in positions to win. And especially in the red zone, some of the things that we've done in the red zone are pretty cool too. Like how we utilize our height in the red zone and stuff of that nature. So I'm excited about the offense going forward. It's a talented group. It was a little bit of a disappointing few drives there. But other than that, I thought they played okay. It wasn't great, but they played okay. And hopefully next time we play him, Fitz maybe get some, rest his shoulder a little bit. We can do a better job of, attacking the, outside of the numbers a little bit more and getting the receivers involved a little bit more. Because if you see one-on-one on the outside with these guys, you have to give them an opportunity to go up and get it because that's what they do best. So moving on to the fan Q&A, and obviously, I think overall, some of the things that I need to hit, the feeling in the building, obviously the Tua thing was great. Him coming in, the crowd going crazy. It was awesome. I was so mad when they converted that 4th and 2 because there was 4 minutes left in the game, and right before that 4th and 2, before they cut to commercial, they showed Tua warming up on the sideline. I was like, oh my god, we're gonna get like 4 minutes of Tua, and then the Jets had to just get it one more first down and almost run the entire clock out. Thanks for that. But other than that, not other than that. Yeah, I think the Tua thing was great. But I want to say this: Brian Flores, Chris Greer. What they're building, I'm sorry if you guys hear the dog in the background. He's Chris Greer. All right, hold on. Let me take care of the dog real quick. All right. What was I saying? Chris Greer, Brian Flores. The feel in the building, just the way everything is, the way the players are, the way the sideline is. Every game you watch. I mean, we have a defensive tackle running onto the field celebrating touchdowns every single time we score a touchdown. I mean, this team is a winning program. It's a winning culture, and you can feel it. Like, as a Dolphins fan, this is different than anything else any other coaching staff has brought to this team, any other, try that we've had with different people trying to run this organization. This is right. It's right with the personnel and how they pick it and who they've picked and how they've played. It's right in Brian, the game plans, everything. Every decision he's made has been the right one so far. The Chad O'Shea thing and what Chan Gailey's brought to this team, I mean, the feel of it, I think, is the part. The future is very bright for this team and very bright for this organization. And you can feel it. It's different than 2016 when we were all coming off the 10-6 season because there really wasn't a foundation there. Especially defensively. And there wasn't really something that this team did great, other than maybe running the football, and even then the stats weren't that great. This year, and it's a young team, every big piece, every big thing on this team, they're all young, everything is just trending in the right direction, and especially after a really good draft, it just feels great. And I'm willing to say that already. I haven't... I mean, this draft has had a huge impact on this season. Brandin Jones, the offensive line with Robert Hunt, who's played very well. He had his moments in Sunday's game. But for a backup tackle who's a rookie to come in and play like he has, he's been good. The entire offensive line has been good. Just hats off to the organization, and we got very lucky with Brian and the whole situation because I don't think anybody saw this coming when we hired him. I didn't see it coming. I remember during the coaching search, Chris Richard is who I wanted the most, coming from that Seattle scheme. And, they ended up going obviously with Brian, and you could not have asked for a better start to this new beginning for this team. And they look great. They look amazing. And it makes you proud as a fan. And, I'm very excited for the future of this team and everything that is happening. Oh my god, I almost dropped this thing. So yeah, it just like I said, I'm sure you guys can. Like I said, it's just a different feel to the team. All right, let's get into the fan Q&A where we answer fans' questions. This first question, let's see here, let me get this ready to go. This first question comes from Beef. He says, "Hey Skaggs, now that the Jets released Le'Veon Bell and he's now with the Chiefs, do you think that we could have used him, or does it fit the scheme, or excuse me, he says, do you think we could have used him well, or he doesn't fit the scheme with Flores?" No, he would have fit the scheme with Chan Gailey. I think the biggest thing that he would have given the team, like I brought up earlier, he would have helped open the field up a bit more with, like I said, he's an explosive player. He would be like I said, just we need someone in the middle who's explosive, coming in and out of their breaks. Someone that Fitz can look to on a consistent basis and trust. I feel like a lot of the other guys, like Isaiah Ford and even Jakeem Grant to a certain extent, he just doesn't really trust all that well. I don't really understand the Isaiah Ford thing. And I say that, the only reason I say that is because it just seems that, and even offensively, I don't think he's where the play is going to start. You know what I mean? I think you go Gesicki, DP, Preston. If it's you really, and especially in the pass game, that's where the ball and that's where the play calls are really usually going to go. And I think we really need someone in the middle of the field that can be more of a go-to guy as a receiver. Obviously, Mike Gesicki, he does a little bit of that for us, but I think, and something that Mike isn't great at is some of those quick possession routes. He's really more of a deeper threat down the middle of the field. He really isn't a short possession guy who's going to break a tackle and run for a 10-yard gain, catch a 5-yard pass, run for a 10-yard gain. And I think Le'Veon Bell would have really helped in that area, giving us a better slot receiver. And I think hopefully they look into that during, obviously before the trade deadline. But yeah, he would have fit the scheme. He would have given us a really good threat in the passing game. Someone we could have lined up in the slot and obviously been a very good runner for us. Sucks we didn't get him. It is what it is. This next question comes from Josh. He says, "Hi, Skaggs. Thoughts on the epic pick of Tua sitting on the field after the game alone, embracing the moment, and what could be a Hall of Fame career if everything fins up?" Yeah, that was awesome. It looked like something out of a sports movie. Like that was like the poster of a sports movie or something like that. Or even the moment when he was coming into the game, it was like the end of a sports movie. Like, oh, he came back and he's ready to go. And yeah, it was awesome. This next question comes from Beef. He says, "Hey Skaggs, awesome win for the Dolphins, but I felt the shutout should have been bigger. Do you agree? Anything else this team still needs to work on?" Yeah, offensively we just we're very inconsistent. Like I said, I mean we talked about it already. But yeah, I think we left a lot of points on the field, and we talked about some of the reasons and some of the things I would like to be like I said, just to be fixed. I think if we add one more guy to this offense, we're a top 10 offense. We just need that one more dude, and if the Dolphins decide to get that guy now, they can, because there's like I said, there's a few guys that are on the trade block that we mentioned before. There's some guys out there that they can end up getting. This next question comes from Eric. He says, "We have three of the last four. I don't know why I'm blanking out here. He says, "We have 3 of the last 4. Thank you. Playoff hopes in sight. What's the main reason we are doing well?" I think Byron Jones is a big reason why the defense is playing better. Like I said, I think it just opens up the playbook. I think Chan Gailey and Brian Flores are a huge reason. Josh Boyer is doing a good job. Player development, good decision making in terms of some of the guys that we picked. I mean, there's a lot of reasons we're doing well right now. And it's got me obviously very, very, very excited. And I mean, obviously Brian is in his second year. He's more comfortable as a coach. And he's really getting, like I said, a lot of these guys to play within the scheme. And it's just starting. And like I said, and the reason why it's working is because a lot of these guys fit the scheme. Unlike last year, we had a bunch of guys coming off the street. A lot of these guys are, fit the scheme and what we want to do. And because of that, they're, killing it. So I think all of those reasons are the reasons why this team is doing really, really, really good. Not to mention the fact that bye week is coming up. And not only are we going to get healthy, but we get Antonio Callaway, which I'm very excited for. And like I said, like we were talking about before with the trade deadline stuff, Antonio Callaway could become that guy that we need in the middle of the field. So I'm excited about that. Plus, he would be the best run after the catch receiver on the team, because that's what he does. He catches a 5-yard pass, can break a tackle, turn it into a 35-yard gain. And that's some of the stuff that he can bring to this team. So I'm very excited about that. This question comes from This next question comes from Beef. He says, "Hey Skaggs, is this a good thing that the Dolphins are having their bye week or too soon?" No, I think it's a good thing now. I think a lot of things could end up kind of lining up in the right that are kind of lining up. Because the trade deadline, they have a week to kind of figure that out. If they want to add, they really don't have to worry about the game plan all that much. Obviously, they're going to still, dive into that because you have 2 weeks to prepare for a team. But you can kind of discuss, hey, is there something that we can do during, before the trade deadline and stuff like that. So I think, and not to mention Callaway's coming back, people can get healthy because I think we're kind of a little bit banged up. It gives another week for Byron to get to 100%. So I think it's a good bye week. I know it's a little bit early, but I think it is a good bye week. I mean, it is after this bye week we'll be playing in November, so I don't think it's that bad. Because after this bye week, they just have 2 months to go. I don't think it's that bad at all. This next question comes from Sean. He says, what can Fitzpatrick do moving forward to ensure he minimizes his turnovers? I think he just needs to get off, and it's a great question by Sean. He needs to get off of, the first three dudes. Or not even the first three. I want him to turn his head from left to right, or right to left more. It just seems like he just doesn't get off he kind of just doesn't get off people sometimes. And because of that, he leaves yards on the field. And I could sit here for another 5 minutes bringing up examples of that, but I think that's something that I would like to see better. I don't know if it's a trust thing. I don't know really what it is. This next question comes from Beef. He says, hey, Skaggs, now that the Miami Dolphins are now setting up in a winning trend, do you think the Dolphins would not have a sluggish start and more wins if the preseason hadn't have been canceled? I think if Byron and X were healthy at the beginning of the year, because even X wasn't 100% at the beginning of the year, if they were healthy and ready to go, this team would have at least one more win than they do now. So I think that was the problem, and obviously the offseason, but you can say that for every other team. Every team that they played had the same offseason. So I think it had more to do with some, losing Byron, and Igbenogany just did not play very well. This next question comes from Ethan. He says, hey, Skaggs, when was the last time the Dolphins were this good in all three phases of the game? 2002, question mark. I think that was our last playoff win. It was at home against the Colts in 2002, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was what's the name? Lamar Smith? I don't think it's Lamar Smith. Anyway, the point is, we had like a 200 yards rushing in that game. What was I talking about? That's a long time ago, and I don't know if we'd have to break out Google to okay, this is what the Dolphins had, this is what they have now. I think definitely offensively they're better than they were in 2002. In my opinion. I mean, it was a different time. We were a different offense. I think quarterback, we have a better quarterback right now who can, throw for 300 yards in a game. I don't think that we really had that back then. I don't know. I think this is the best leadership the organization has been ran maybe since Shula. Maybe Jimmy Johnson you can throw in there. But yeah, I mean, definitely in recent memory, it is for sure. I mean, we never had a team like this when Adam Gase was here. Never had a team like this when Joe Philbin was here. So I just kind of, those two recent examples, it's definitely better than those. This next question comes from Mark. He says, first off, how dare Aaron Rodgers go out there and give that embarrassing performance? LOL. Then did you two get chills when Tua came out, but cringed every time he ran? LOL. Well, he didn't really. I mean, when he ran the first time, it was a little like, oh, you don't want him to get hit. I think every time he took a snap, I was definitely like, all right, please don't get hit, because they blitzed him twice. I was like, wow, this is what we're doing, Greg Williams. I mean, I guess whatever they're trying. I don't know what they were trying to do. Really, they were down 24. But yeah, they blitzed him both times, and he didn't get hit. And yeah, he looked good out there. I was concerned about that because I don't know what the heck they were doing. They were still being pretty aggressive. But I guess you can make the argument against us. We got the ball back. We could have just kneaded out. I'm not gonna sit here and say it was like the most disrespectful thing in the world. But yeah, I definitely did and it was an awesome moment. Okay, hold on. It would have been nice if we could get off the field in 4. I don't even know why I'm complaining about this because we went 24-0. But it would have been cool to see him with 5 minutes left to go. This next question comes from Josh. He says, what offensive mistakes should we work on heading into the bye week before playing the Rams week 2 from now? I think we just need to add one more guy, like I said, in the middle of the field. That's quicker coming in and out of his breaks, who can work the middle of the field. And Brandin Cooks would be the best one, dude. He would be the best one to get, because not only can he do that kind of stuff, he might not be the most physical runner after the catch, but they don't need that. He can stretch the field too, and he can give us a good slot presence. So I think it would help the offense out a lot if they had one more guy that is a more of a proven dude, who is, and like all three of those guys have been ones before. So it would be, I think Brandin Cooks would be the best one. But I think we discussed a lot of that stuff earlier. This next question comes from Gabe. He says, thoughts on Tua coming in? It was awesome. This next question comes from Beef. He says, are you still going to do a video for next week for the bye week? Yeah. This next question comes from Richard. He says, I said before when the Dolphins pick up Ogba early on in your podcast that he would be a 10-sack defensive end. He's wearing Cameron Wake number 9. You did say that, Richard. And he is. This next question comes from KC Fanatic. He says, one statement I keep hearing about the Dolphins is we miss a big bruising type, Zonka type, running back. I really can't think of any running back that are like that other than Henry. Your thought? I mean, we do have one. It's Howard. But here's what people got to understand. This team is not a run-first team. They're not going to run the ball that much. They're a pass-first team. That is what they do the best. That is what this team does the best. They pass the ball. They're very good at it. They're very good in pass protection. We've got to get off this whole, why can't we run 15? I don't even know why you guys, it's all these old guys saying that too, by the way. It's just not what this team is, okay? You're not in it. To really have success with a bruising physical runner, okay? Maybe the only one I've ever seen, and I guess Larry Zonk would be in this category too, that doesn't have to have 1,000 carries, and even though he did have 1,000 carries, because back in the 70s, I mean, all you did was run. Here's what I'll say. Only one I've ever seen be successful as a power back and a rotational who doesn't get the ball that much is LeGarrette Blount. That's the only one I've seen be able to do it. Everybody else has to have like 15 carries minimum as a power back. And you see that with Derrick Henry and a lot of those bruising backs like Marshawn Lynch. They have a lot of carries. This team can't do that because they don't do that well. They have to pass the ball. He just doesn't fit that. So the whole power back thing just it won't work on this team. This next question comes from Josh. He says, how well does our defense match up against the Rams next week? I think they match up good. And one thing I will say about that matchup is the 49ers run very similar schemes as the Rams do. So I think Brian Flores can use some of the same things that we did against the Niners against the Rams. This next question comes from Harrington. He says, hey, Skaggs, how you doing? Is it just me or is Nick Needham extremely overrated? Every time he's out there, he commits a PI, and a lot of the times it seems in crucial moments. I don't question his talents, but somebody please coach this kid or put him on the practice squad. Your thoughts? I don't know about that. I mean, the only one I can think of wasn't even his fault in a crucial moment. The one in San Francisco were bad. Like those were not those by the letter of the law. That the refs, that was on the refs. That was not on him. And the only one that and again, even against the Jets, that was on the refs. It was not on him. So I don't know about that. I don't know if I agree with that. But I think he's the best slot corner we have, and I think he's been pretty solid. So I do disagree with you a little bit, Harrington. This next question comes from Jay. He says, did you see Tua's handoffs? Best I've ever seen. But for real, what are the chances that Tua starts versus 0? Tua's not going to start versus the Rams. I don't see that happening for sure. I think the thing that we can all hope for, and the thing I'm kind of hoping for, is the Dolphins. Listen, if I had to look about a shooting star right now, and it was going, it's going through space, and I look at this shooting star, and I look up at it, and I look at dead in its eyes, I say, just give us Brandin Cooks for a 4th round pick. That's it. That's all I say to the stupid shooting star. I think it would just help out this team a lot in a lot of different areas. And we'll see what they end up doing. I think they will. I mean, they almost made a trade for Le'Veon Bell that fell through. So we'll see, and we'll see. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I am Sky83. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I certainly did, and certainly enjoyed this week of football. And I'll see you guys in the next one.